Recently, we saw AMD and Nvidia's mainstream GPUs from their current generation hit the market. At this point, I would say we've essentially seen it all. Both companies still have some models left to release, but they're just going to be slotting them in between existing models when it comes to pricing and performance, so we have a fairly good idea on their turnout. Therefore, what I wanted to talk about was out of the GPUs that are readily available on the market, both new and used, what would be your best option? Let's discuss that in this video. This video is sponsored by SCD Keys. So you just recently built a gaming PC and are looking to get Windows installed and activated. Well, SCD Keys has got you covered. Over on their website, they offer great deals on various software and games. Right now, you can buy a Windows 10 Pro OEM key for just under $20. Simply click on the link in the video description, use promo code Danny when checking out, and get 25% off. The checkout process is very simple and straightforward, as they accept multiple methods. Along with that, delivery times for keys takes around 3 to 5 minutes. Then once you have your key, you're going to want to open your Windows 10 settings menu, click on Update and Security, and on the left, click on Activation. Then you'll want to click on Change Product Key, enter in your key. After that, you'll have an activated copy of Windows. You can also use this key to then upgrade to Windows 11 for free. You can also pick up a license for Office 2021 Professional, a software I use daily, and what's even better is you can use my offer code for another 25% off. Thank you to SCD Keys for sponsoring this video. Check them out in the video description. Hey, what is going on guys? Danny here, welcome back to the channel and I hope you've all been doing well. Lately the GPU market, particularly the mainstream and entry level, has gotten a bit crazy. The RX 7600 and RTX 4060 Ti were recently released and reception for them has not been the greatest. I covered this in my last video, so feel free to check it out if you're interested in what went down. However, for this video, what I wanted to do was do an overview of the GPU market and more specifically talk about what you should be buying if you're in the market today, whether you're building a new PC or upgrading. One of the main reasons why I wanted to make a video like this is because of all the buzz in the GPU market. I think we just need to take a step back here and evaluate what the best options are, because at the end of the day, you're not really left with any other choice. Crying and ranting online is fine, but that's not really going to change much as we've seen over the past few years. Plus, on the bright side, there have been some price drops which need to be taken into consideration. I'm going to be taking into account different price points, performance targets, types of games, and more. Getting right into it, the first segment I wanted to talk about was the $100 or under $100 segment, and yes, there is a market for this type of consumer even today. Perhaps you're just looking into getting your feet wet with PC gaming, or you're building a gaming PC for a younger family member, maybe you just like to play older games. There could be a wide variety of reasons out there, which of course I won't be able to cover everything in this video. My pick for this segment is AMD's RX 580 8GB. Since you can't really find new RX 580s on the market now, we'll have to take a look on the used market for one, and even for the next under $200 segment we'll talk about, you're just going to be so much better off going with used as they offer better bang for the buck there. Right now, new cards which should be under $200 in my opinion just aren't there yet. Over on eBay, you can find one of these cards for around $70 to $80 US, sometimes even cheaper than that. Obviously, a GPU as old as this, remember Polaris was released back in the summer of 2016, so it's 7 years old at this point. You're not going to be maxing out the latest titles with ultra or very high settings, even at 1080p. However, if you're willing to play at low or medium settings, perhaps turn on FSR, then you'll find the experience won't be too bad. A channel I highly recommend you guys subscribe to is called Random Gaming HD. He made a video about a month ago showcasing the RX 580's performance in modern AAA titles, and found with those settings, the game still looked acceptable and many of them were still able to average around 60 FPS, which for a 70-year-old card is really darn impressive, especially if you can find one for around $70. There's just a lot of good value to be had there. Along with that, when it comes to settings, in games which are coming out today, their medium settings are like equivalent to high or ultra settings from games released back in 2015 or 2016. Now obviously with the used market, you'll have to do your due diligence, check out the seller's history, ask for pictures and videos. If you can actually meet them in person, that's even better because you'll get the opportunity to perhaps try out the card or test it in various benchmarks. eBay and PayPal also have good buyer protection policies. Worst case scenario, if you pay with a credit card, most will have some kind of insurance there. The next segment is the under $200 market, and as mentioned earlier, I personally feel as if you'll get a lot better bang for the buck going with something from the used market. Though before we get to that, I did want to mention that if you were only set on something from the new market, especially if you know at $200 you're not going to be comfortable going used, then I highly suggest picking up this ASRock RX 6600 from Newegg, which with its promo code is just around $180. The RX 6600 does provide very good 1080p performance even for modern AAA titles. Again, just don't be stupid and turn everything to maxed, and you'll hear me often saying this and in the future. Take 5 to 10 minutes, tweak your settings, turn off unnecessary stuff like motion blur, depth of field, turn your shadows down to medium. Now, as an alternative, on eBay you'll find RX 5700 XTs going for around $150, and this card, even in modern games, is a bit faster than the RX 6600. You not only save a bit of money, but also get a bit better performance. It's a win-win in my books. Look at this RX 5700 XT for $150. This seller even discloses they used the card for mining for a year, which if you think is a bad thing, well, there's quite a few videos out there which debunk that mining is bad for your GPUs. Plus, they did mention they repasted and repadded the card, so this person could be an enthusiast who looks after their stuff. You'll probably have noticed that I haven't mentioned or recommended any Nvidia cards so far, and that's because they just don't offer the same sort of value as AMD cards do when we're looking at the lower end segments. Nvidia cards do hold their value a lot better, which if you're selling is a great thing, but not if you're buying. I mean, brand new RTX 3050s are still selling for over $200. That's terrible. That is GTX 1660 Ti performance, and it really shouldn't be more than $150 in today's market. Next up, we'll talk about the $200 to $300 market, which is a very interesting category because honestly, there are quite a lot of viable options here. You'll find not just from the used market, but also from the new market. Though new Nvidia GPUs you can forget about in this segment, I just feel like for what's being offered, you're not getting good performance, especially compared to the alternatives. As mentioned, we talked about the RTX 3050, and at its price point, it's horrible. For around $250, you'll find 8GB RTX 3060s, which offer performance similar to the $150-ish 5700 XTs we saw on eBay. However, what you will find on eBay are used RTX 2080s, which are still fantastic GPUs in 2023, and if you can find one for around $250 or less, then I think that's a pretty good deal. I was still using an RTX 2080 in my rig a few months ago and found for my 1440p gaming needs, it was doing an adequate job. Would definitely be a better choice over the RTX 3060 8GB, that's for sure. As a new alternative, the RX 6650 XT for around $250 isn't terrible, but I feel like these should be a bit cheaper. Moving up a bit, and a card I've been recommending a lot lately is the RX 6700 non-XT with 10GB of VRAM. Currently over on Amazon, you can pick up this card for around $280. I've even seen it drop down to $270, which is the same price as new 7600s. This card will provide you with comparable performance to an RTX 3060 Ti in some games, and even the brand new RTX 4060 Ti, considering it was barely faster than the 3060 Ti and in some cases lost to it. Now, if you want to see how this card performs in modern games, Random Gaming HD made another brilliant video. Brian from TechYes City has done some benchmarks on his channel, and Vex recently made a really cool video where he showed performance in the games he played and talked about his overall experience. And the overall messaging surrounding this GPU has been very positive. It's a beast for 1080p gaming and can run new titles at 1440p 60fps with a mixture of medium to high settings. This is a card that won't be in the market for too long as it wasn't as widely mass produced as some of the other AMD 6000 series GPUs. So if you like it, then don't hesitate on picking one up. Now we have our $300 to $400 GPU segment, and here the choices were obvious. There have been some discounts on Nvidia side of things here, but the movement hasn't been anything too drastic. Prior to the release of the RTX 4060 Ti, the 3060 Ti's were still selling in the high $300 and even low $400 range, which in the middle of 2023 was severely overpriced. However, since the release of the RTX 4060 Ti, the prices on these cards have come down, and you can find them for around $330. Do you know what else you can find brand new for that price? An RX 6750 XT, which when it comes to rasterization performance is overall in a higher tier than the 3060 Ti as it competes with cards like the 3070 and 3070 Ti. Since I mentioned rasterization performance, and I know at this point someone watching is probably going to be asking, well, what about ray tracing performance? At these segments, forget about ray tracing. If you want to do ray tracing, I'd say you need like an RTX 4070 Ti or RTX 3080 at the minimum. and that would be at like 1080p or 1440p if you want an acceptable frame rate without upscaling, that is. The thing is, with ray tracing, especially on these lower end cards, sure, you can enable it, but in order to get an acceptable frame rate, you're going to have to severely compromise on other settings. Resolution, you'll be using a lower preset of FSR or DLSS, which becomes quite noticeable or detrimental to the image quality. It'll get to the point where you've made too many sacrifices on other stuff that the visual benefit of ray tracing will probably be diminished, or unless you want to play at a cinematic 24 FPS, then go for it. Also, the 8GB RTX 3060 Ti in new games with ray tracing will probably make it hit its VRAM limit before its RT cores can give it an advantage over a card like the 6750 XT. My advice, keep ray tracing off, as it's just not worth it for these cards. With that said, if you want a decent Nvidia option in this price segment and you're comfortable searching the used market, the RTX 2080 Ti is a great option. It's got 11GB of VRAM, plenty of power for headroom, you can overclock them really well and bring them relatively close to stock 3080 levels of performance. Speaking of RTX 3080s, I think this is a good time to talk about the next segment, which is that $400 to $500 market. I was looking on eBay and found RTX 3080s going for around $450, and I think buying one of these over a new RTX 3070 or a 3070 Ti or even a 4070 is definitely the way to go. In modern games, the RTX 3080 will still be able to deliver great frame rates at 1440p even if you are pushing the settings a bit. Since I got my RTX 3080 in 2020, I had been using it in my 4K OLED rig, and it did a fantastic job even at that demanding resolution. Now granted, I did have to turn on DLSS in some titles, but the quality preset was sufficient and I was still able to get great frame rates. It's definitely not a bad option if you're looking for a cost-effective 4K 60fps card with adjusted settings. Now, if you're looking for a new card, you can find RX 6800 XTs for around $500, which will give you comparable performance against an RTX 3080, maybe a little bit better now because of its VRAM advantage, but it'll lose to it when it comes to ray tracing, which I guess might start to matter a little more in this segment. But I don't know, I just feel like a used RTX 3080 is really good value right now. Also, I have spotted a few open box RX 6800 non-XTs pop up on the Build a PC sale subreddit, going for around $400, which is also pretty decent value. Hardware Unboxed recently made a video revisiting this card and the RTX 3070, and the choice was clear. The RX 6800 aged a lot better because of its double VRAM that it had at 16GB. The next graphics card I wanted to talk about, if you're in that high $500 to low $600 range, is the RX 6950 XT. If you're looking for a card that will give you high refresh gaming at 1440p and even do well at 4K, then this is the card to buy. In its stock configuration, it provides performance that is similar to new RTX 4070 Ti's, which go for around $800 new, which is just ridiculous in my opinion. And if you can get a good sample and you're willing to take some time to tune its core, tune its memory, then you can get close to an RX 7900 XT in most titles, and that card is going for around $750 to $800 right now new. The upper high-end market, we're talking about past $700. The market right now is just kind of a mess, and I'm not going to bother talking about this segment as it's kind of a niche market. For this video, I mainly wanted to focus on the entry-level, budget, mainstream, and mid-range market, as that is where the vast majority of PC gamers reside. Once you're past that $700 or $800 price point, really your most sensible options are to buy an RX 7900 XTX if you just don't care about ray tracing or the Nvidia features, or just go complete balls to the wall and get an RTX 4090. There really isn't much else. The 4070s, the 4080, 7900 XT, in my opinion, just aren't in a great place. Along with that, there's not much in the used market besides 3090s and 3090 Ti's. And those GPUs I've noticed have been gradually increasing in price because they have 24GB of VRAM, which is sought after quite a lot these days. Which I guess if you can find a decent deal on one, it would be a much better buy than the RTX 4070s, that's for sure. You'll just have to undervolt them if you care about efficiency. Right now, I'm using an RTX 3090 in my personal rig. I've got that thing power limited and undervolted. For my games, it barely goes over 250 watts, which I think is a huge improvement. All in all, the GPU market right now, while depressing, still has some decent options available for larger consumer segments. You're just going to have to take some time to research for deals, look on your used market, check your local computer parts store or their websites for open box deals. That would be a great option considering you'll still have retail warranty. I know that these past few months, and I'll admit it, it's been a bit doom and gloom on the channel. And I don't wish it for it to be this way, it's just that there hasn't been a lot of positive things to talk about when it comes to new graphics cards. Therefore, we just have to work with what we've got and eventually you'll find your solution. I'll also acknowledge I may have glossed over some other important alternatives. Like I said, these are just my suggestions. You can use it as a guideline. I can't obviously go over every single scenario out there. You just have to evaluate your needs and find what suits you. If you guys are interested in picking up some of the GPUs I mentioned in this video, check out my video description. I'll have some affiliate links. They'll help out the channel. They don't cost you anything extra. Apart from that, I hope you guys found this helpful. We'll touch base in the next video. If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.